Well, good morning and welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Survivor Experience. I created this podcast to give a platform for people that survived any type of survival, any type of traumatic experience. I want you to come on my podcast to tell you a story. And my guest today is just that. She experienced, my topic is domestic abuse, domestic violence, sexual violence. My guest is Kimberley Miner. So let me bring her in right now. Let me introduce you to her.
Our guest today on Stroke of Genius podcast is Kimberley Miner. Kimberly is chairman, CEO of Envision U, Victory Over Violence, a nonprofit foundation.
Well, there she is, the star herself. Hey, Kimberly.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing really good now. You're I'm doing better. So great to have you here. Really great to have you. Where you coming from? I forget where you're located.
I am coming out of Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, you're like in Phoenix, Arizona?
Yes.
How hot is the average temperature in the summer? My wife and I are thinking of moving. So
Well, if you like 115, 120 degrees, that's the place to be.
yeah, okay. Well, let's jump right into it because I'm really honored for you to be here, and I wanted everybody to know that we deal with that. My podcast gives a platform to any type of survivor of any traumatic experience. But you went through domestic abuse. And it led you somewhere. We're getting there. So what I'm going to do is break the podcast into kind of two sections where I want you to talk a little bit about your experience as a domestic abuse person, and then go into why it's led you, because it's led you into some pretty amazing things. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story? What brought you here?
Absolutely. First, thanks for having me on. I always enjoy our conversations. So it's a delight to be back with you in this space, Aaron. And a bit of my backstory is that I had survived sexual and domestic abuse, and I have been through two domestic abuse relationships that were very pivotal in uh, the um, the trauma that I have found myself having to deal with for years that I chose to ignore. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I have found that is really important to touch on is that, uh, people consumed with what the specific instances were that you went through, but uh, don't understand that a lot of the healing and a lot of the um, uh, shame and guilt and humiliation and the self doubt and lack of confidence and worth and stuff really begins after you find your way out of it. It's kind of, I kind of explain it as that we have all the strength to say, okay, we don't want to be part of this anymore, and we find our way out of it. And then it's almost like we forget the fact of how much strength we actually had in order to get out of it, and then start doubting ourselves of being able to, move forward and have, make decisions for ourselves, have opinions for ourselves. We can actually accomplish things that 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 self-doubt that has built up in our mind doesn't need to dictate what our future looks like. So I think it's important to stress that when you get out of it, is like, that's half the battle. Now the next half is, is being able to face, your own personal demons, so that you can, make decisions that are, better for you, as far as your personal life, your work life, relationships you have with your family, with your friends. If you choose to get into any other future relationships, that you are healthy enough in order to be part of that. So, and in my personal story, after I left my first marriage, is that I didn't face things face on. I kept kind of, there's that saying is like, somebody's acting like they're an ostrich with their head stuck in the ground. Is that it's kind of the way that I kind of proceeded forward, is that I just kind of immersed myself in some other things. And one of them, looking for like another relationship to get into. And that is not productive. It's counterproductive, because you're not taking the time to face what it is that you went through, and two, what are the things that are behaviorisms that you have. Like, what was my sabotaging behaviorisms that allowed me to feel that it was necessary to continue to be in that relationship? What led me to be in that relationship? There's all different types of factors. And what it did is that it promoted me to wind up being in kind of like digging the hole deeper, and making it harder for me to find my way out of it. And now, on top of what it is that I came with, I now have more things to try to maneuver through, and seek my way out of. And there is there was a domino effect to that, is that I have two beautiful children that suffered some consequences to the decisions I made, that came out, and frustration and stress and anger, and maybe not being there in different ways that would have been conducive to them, because I was so caught up in uh, trying to get a feeling of feeling loved and accepted, that was all consuming. And if I'm so consumed with that, then it doesn't allow for me to have anything to spill over into them of what they need. And that is something that I don't get a rewind button, but it's something that I'm very very aware of, and that I work on giving both of my children space to express their feelings and their opinions and thoughts and stuff, and hold that space for them, so that I remember one time, the feedback I got was like, "Don't you have anything to say about that?" And I said, "No, it's not my room to say anything, because these are your experiences. This is how it made you feel. This is where you feel that you are now based on those experiences, and it is not my right to infringe upon how it is that you're feeling." So when I finally, way too many years afterwards, really felt pretty broken down, of lots of failed dating attempts, and feeling that I was not making the progression for myself personally, that I need, it's a choice, right? I made a choice of how was I going to move forward. And I made that choice that it was time to really face it, and to get into some therapy, and start unpacking the very heavy load that I was carrying around. And sometimes that normally goes way beyond when you ever wound up in that relationship, that there's lots of things to unpack, and lots of things to work through. And it's not always pretty, and you have to do the work, and face things that choices that could have been better choices. So it was a long road, but I'm here today with hoping that with everything that we do that is based off of that somebody will not make the same amount of mistakes, or the longevity is not as long as I created for myself.
Yeah, I don't know for anybody out there. I have a podcast I did with Kimberly that would get more detailed into her abuse. And the reason I'll put a link in the description of the video. And the reason Kimberly, I don't know if I told you, and I did probably didn't, because I don't like tell many people, but I was sexually abused by a neighbor across the street from ages about 12 to 14. And I understand the abuse, I understand the unpacking. I would say it's probably a lifelong process of monitoring your own responses, monitoring your own, making sure you're not getting overheated and maybe yelling at your kids too much. But I do understand. Do you need to answer that?
I do. Hang on one second.
Good.
I'm so sorry.
Good. It's dope, Sean. Now, just so we know, it's a live podcast. I get them live on that. And Kimberly has one of those children probably knocking at the door and during the podcast challenge. And I want you to know, I want to take this time just to tell you that this podcast is endorsed and sponsored by Stroke TV Media. And I want you to come on my podcast and tell yourself about a story, no matter if it's stroke, heart attack, domestic abuse, whatever, any near death experience or any traumatic event. I want to give you a platform to come on and tell your story. Because I think it's so important. We get so left behind. When you hear Kimberly talk about how all of us sit on the outside, man. I'll ask her when she gets back because I want to hear her response to this. We all say there's so many people I know say, why don't you leave the abuser so easily? It's not easy to leave the abuser. There's like a to really messed up bond with that person. And we get that. We get that from Kimberly in just a minute when she gets the back on. Because I want hey, Kimberly, great. Don't
Sorry
worry.
about that.
That's the beauty of live podcasting. We're alive. That's great. That's live, real life. It's real. This is real, people. The subject we're talking about, domestic abuse, is real. People in our society, we tend to hide the abuse, like you say, Kimberly. Like ostriches who put their head in the sand, and I would say it's a lifelong artifact of the abuse. I mean, I still uncover things in my emotions that were caused by abuse. So when I was talking to people about why you were deep gone, what for us on the outside, for many people outside, the outside and go, well, let's just leave. Make it sound so easy. It's not easy, is it?
No, it's not. There's a lot of uh, a lot of emotional inner work that goes on. I call it, learning how to reclaim your inner voice, as knowing that you're okay just the way you are, and that you do have worth, that you can hold your head up high with confidence. And one of the things about facing what it is that you have been through is that you can actually find empowerment in owning the story of what you've been through. That for a very, very long time, I was really good at what I call kind of like short tailing around the things that uh, were going on, whether it was what I had experienced, whether it was some bad choices that I was making. Is that I would try to skirt around it and make it sound as like not as bad as as it was sounding, and that was coming from a place of shame, as that I had this expectation of who I should be, where I should be, and I was not meeting that based on my experiences. And so I was trying to make it sound better than it was, or not as bad as it was. And so or not giving really a lot of back information of what it is that I was specifically had experienced. And that went on for a lot of years, and it wasn't until that I really started going through the therapy is that when I was able to face it head on. And when you face it head on, I was able to then start being able to accept my experiences, whether they be uh, something I needed to be accountable for, or something that happened to me that seemed like it was, like, how could you let that happen? How embarrassing, things of that nature, that I was able to start claiming and taking my own voice back, of that these are the experiences that I had, these are the things that I went through, these are the choices that I made, that some were good, and there was a lot of bad decisions too. And uh, due to that, what it does is that it gives me an opportunity to show what is the growth that I've had from that. Like, where am I now? Is that, through that experiences, through that bad choice, then this is where I have learned that that I can get through anything, that if I need help, I can reach out and be vulnerable and let people know what it is that I need in order to move forward. And so that is really, really difficult for survivors, is to uh, kind of feel like they're not being judged for what it is their story is. And uh, there's a term for that, and it's called re-victimization. Is that every time that somebody puts themselves in a vulnerable spot to share what it is that has happened to them, or maybe some choices that they made out of that experience, that people will, it's common to hear comments of like, why did you stay so long, why didn't you get out, like, why did you think that that was a good idea, like, why did you make that choice, why didn't you do that? There's a lot of whys. And it leaves you in this spot of not only are you carrying that experience of everything you've been through, whether it been the trauma from the abuse or the things that happened after that, you're carrying that around like a heavy weight. And it's like it just re-emphasizes, and it's like reliving that experience over and over and over again. And no matter how far it goes that you get away from those experiences, when people come back, and normally it's not from a malicious point of view that people come back with that question, is that it is a lack of understanding that the trauma that is attached to those questions, that is where the lack of, I think, education is people understanding what it means to actually be a survivor of any type of abuse. It doesn't matter what type it is that it's learning how to work through the trauma with tools, versus that the trauma just goes away. It doesn't ever go away, but the amount that it can affect you changes. And that's what took me a long time to learn, is that embracing all of that, and saying that, if I tell you up front that everything that's happened, then it makes it really hard to come back at me with questions like that, because I've already accepted accountability for everything that's gone on in my life, and it doesn't leave room for question.
Yeah, it's when you again, you've taken a dark storm in your life, just as mine too, different type of storm, but still, I mean, domestic abuse, a man beating a woman, a man physically, sexually abusing a woman. I just have no respect for that man. But Kimberly, your journey, what you went through, and you talked about how your experience can empower you when you face it. You have taken what you've gone through and created something. Tell me about what you created.
Thanks, Aaron. So, out of a lifetime of really bad choices and experiences, is that I decided that, if I had gone through that, I almost felt personally this burning desire that uh, I did not want somebody else to go through to the extent of what I went through. And sometimes it almost seems that the aftermath of decisions I made uh, almost caused me more problems than the abuse that I went through, because I wasn't facing what it is that I had the experiences that I had gone through. And so for me, I felt almost a responsibility of saying that, there has to be something good that can come from the years of trauma that was either imposed or self-induced. And so I wanted to make sure that I could develop a program of working with other survivors that was solely based on what is it that the survivor needs. What is it from their standpoint? What are knowing myself, what are the trigger points of trauma and stuff that does prohibit us from making better choices for ourselves, being afraid to let people know, be afraid for, there's so many people that even in their careers and stuff that have been through some type of trauma experience, and it prohibits them from going for a advancement in their careers, asking for a raise, speaking up in projects and stuff, sharing their ideas. There's so many different ways that it comes out in whether it be in their career, whether it be in their types of friendships that they make. The friendships I've found, even for myself, is that so many of the friendships I have that I don't have anymore, because they were based off of what I was trying to seek versus an actual equal level friendship, which was not conducive for either party involved. So uh, those are the types of programs that we work on, is like trauma healing. How do you heal your trauma? How do you sit within your emotions? Like, how do you make effective decisions, and going through that process of figuring out what is your opinion, what is your feeling, excuse me, on decisions that need to be made, versus it being through somebody else's thought process. So we do a whole bunch of victim services. We have therapy available, writing services to help people that don't know how to get through that process on their own. We also have prevention, trainings to, help employees in the workplace, that, recognizing what is, excuse me, what is abuse, what is sexual harassment, uh, and is something new that we have added this last year, that it took me a long time to get in this space to want to offer, is anger management prevention for those that are court ordered. So I, for a long time, I had so much animosity that I couldn't even think of, like, why would I want to spend my time? But I, over time, with the healing and working with survivors, is that I've learned that uh, in order to help alleviate the problem, you have to go to where the problem began. And so it is important to find a way, if at all possible, to reach those and hopefully help them, because everybody gets to actions they take based on experiences that have happened to them. And so, uh, it's important to find out where people's pain points are, so that if you know where their pain points are, then they have room for development. So we actually work on that, and we have lots of trauma healing programs that either self-paced or group or one-on-one. And we have 4, 8, and 12-week programs that we offer. And we also offer trauma healing retreats. They're long weekend retreats that really work on coming to terms and recognizing what that trauma is, and then also with learning trust and uh, just starting, some years of that healing process for that to start to begin for them. So I'm feel very blessed to have the opportunity to work with so many, because I feel uh, that so humbled and privileged that they feel safe enough to share their experiences with me. And I feel like I'm the one that's gifted all the time from having that opportunity to work with them.
Yeah, that is so needed. The trauma, I don't think. Now understand, Kimberly, my focus is stroke survivors. And I know some are watching right now. But trauma is trauma. I'll be honest with you, there's a lasting, lifelong impact of going through trauma. Whether it be stroke, whether it be sexual abuse, whether it be domestic abuse, whatever. But if we don't deal with that, we look at ourselves square in the eyes, it's hard to move past that trauma. Then you live with the shame and guilt all your life. And I think it's really now your organization you built is called Envision You Victory Over Violence, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And just so people know, I'll put a link to Kimberly's information in the description of the video. If you are going through any sort of domestic abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, reach out to her. If it's real bad, definitely call 911, definitely call. I think it's a domestic abuse hotline. But Kimberly offers services that are deeper than just surface level. She'll help you get through the domestic abuse guilt, the feelings of trauma, and the impact trauma has. As being through abuse myself, that's a lifelong experience. Don't you find yourself constantly look at yourself and you call them trigger points?
Absolutely. You know, um, I still find today that sometimes something somebody says, or if there is loud noises, or there's a lot of commotion, uh, that's very triggering for me. I will, I have things that I do to try to, allow myself to be able to relax and not be, concerned about that. Uh, and, that takes time, but it's with the tools, being given tools to understand how to work with yourself individually, because everybody handles trauma differently, and their triggers are different, and their responses to trigger are different. So you can't try to fit a circle into a square. And that is what is so important in the programs that we have, is that you can have a kind of a guideline outline that we use, but it really starts to employ the of actually molding it based on that particular individual, of what are their needs, what is it that is their particular triggers, how does that affect them in their personal life, and how can we put some things in place that helps them to start to work on working through the triggers that they will find themselves experiencing. So it is important to recognize, because many people don't look at it as that, oh, that's a trigger point. They'll chalk it up to say that I'm just feeling depressed right now, or I'm just feeling a lot of stress or anxiety. And in actuality, underneath all of that, those are just descriptions of what it is that is actually underneath that. I always say that a survivor is kind of like an onion. You have to peel back all the layers in order to get to the middle of it, to understand what exactly is the pain point of that particular experience that they had, or that's something that they're feeling, that they're going through. And then you're able to connect that anxiety, that fear, you can attach it then to an experience that they had, and be able to give them tools in order to be able to then, help themselves work through that. And when you do that, you start to build confidence. And when you have confidence, then you feel more worthy. And then you can start seeing yourself make changes. Maybe you do start speaking up, and with your ideas at work. Maybe you feel that confidence that you can go and ask for that raise, or look for that position, or change companies. Whatever it is that happens through a process of learning that, what the connection of what it is that you're experiencing in life, and how that is attached to some type of trauma that you had been through in those experiences.
Yeah, man, boy, you're really seeing a lot. People that have gone through it can understand it, and people that don't, I'm just saying it, but look, everybody's gone through some sort of trauma, some worse than other. I gotta admit, domestic abuse, sex abuse, it leaves a scar for life. I think you and I will always be dealing with that part. But I think identifying and trying to heal from it is the main thing. Stroke survivors, we survivors go through trauma. Every stroke survivor I know has a form of PTSD, where their trauma has caused them to react a certain way. I remember being angry. I was a reactive person. And until I began to realize why I was being reactive, instantly got fly the handle. I was angry. I was angry deep inside, and I had to face it. I'm angry at myself for the decision I made. I'm angry at what happened. I allowed to happen to me. But envision you to be and victory over violence. I'm sorry, tongue twister.
No worries.
Their service. Some people now, I believe it or not, we're overtime. But what is the best for if you know somebody like right now that's gonna listen to podcasts? They're going through abuse. What advice would you give them?
The biggest there's two pieces of advice I would give. Is the one is that uh, our philosophy is that um, it's my choice now. And that's the one piece I would give, is that it is your choice now. Like, every decision you make gets to be your choice moving forward. If you're in the midst of of that abuse, it's still your choice now of making that decision to leave. And uh, that comes with no accountability of what you've been through. It doesn't come with having to be accountable in explaining yourself to anybody. And it also comes with the freedom of that, whatever changes that you want to make and things that you want to do moving forward, that it is your choice. And that the only barriers are put up are the ones that we feel that we've self-created or have chosen to recognize and take in, that other people are saying to us. So that would be my first bit of advice. The second is that I always let people know is that You are smarter than you think. You're stronger than you believe, and you're 3 times more beautiful than you ever thought you were. And I think those are like, 3 little words that really affect people in their day-to-day life, is that they don't feel like they have the strength to get through something. They don't think that they're smart enough uh, to go for a position, or to go through school, or whatever that is that they prohibit themselves from moving forward with that. And is that our self-image of how we perceive ourselves. Do you look in the mirror and automatically your first thought is, what are all my shortcomings? So it's important that those things are within our mind of what we've developed, and not what it is that is perceived.
Yeah, that is so true, because I got 2 words. We're out of time, but I cuss so quick. But I would think that most survivors, whatever it is, I think self-love is so important, because what we go through takes it all away. It makes you feel like you're not worthy in this stuff. So I really appreciate Video of Violence doing your nonprofit. I want to find people. We're at the end of the show, but the end of the podcast. But man, I'm in full support of your sister. Whatever I can do to help you, and I think it's important for us to know there is people out there that care. There are people. Victory over violence is out there. There is help. Stroke survivors, you have help. It's through TV media. I don't care whoever you are, whatever type of trauma you went through, definitely seek out help. I definitely try to talk to your peers, try to talk to people that have been there, because they know what it's like. But Kimberly, I can't thank you enough for being here. I'm really, that 30 minutes went by so quick with you. Love having you on the podcast. And I hope to have you on again sometime, whenever in the future.
Yeah, any time. There's a lot of so many different areas that don't get spoken about, that fall underneath that, and I'm always a joy to come on and spend time with you.
All right. Well, Kimberly, thank you so much. And I appreciate being with us, and appreciate being on there. And again, good for you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for helping your people. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right. Bye, Kimberly.
Bye-bye.
Set me on fire. Keep taking you, let me on.